So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And I think it was meant to be some kind of a cautionary tale, but the book, A Brave New World, doesn't seem like a bad idea right now when I think about it. As usual, I am Earthling, yada yada yada. I'm an ex Army reservist. I have an MBA, computer science degree. I've traveled a bit: Caracas, Venezuela; Tokyo, Japan; the Grand Canyon, the Czech Republic, some of these places. And yeah, that's it for me. Now, the book, A Brave New World, I read this quite a while ago, so I might get certain things wrong. But the whole idea, there's a whole description about how this world works, and it might be the UK. But the way that it works in this supposedly, I guess, dystopian world is that nobody gives birth anymore. Everybody is decanted from these huge vats of people, and you are made in a certain class. You're made to be very, well, unintelligent, to do menial labor. You're made of moderate intelligence to do, I guess, clerk duties, I suppose. Then there's other levels of people who are basically grown according to how many people you need to accomplish whatever it is that you want. And these people are not just regular people, they are clones of each other for the most part. You can have 9, 10, 20, however many different clones of whatever it is that you want. People that you purposefully deprive of oxygen to make sure that their IQ is really low. People that you give, it's like bees, for example. You give royal jelly to a couple of bee larvae and they become queens, and the other ones you don't and they become workers. So you have all of these clones of different people, and they're all brought up and raised together as not even like brothers and sisters, really. And when they grow up, they are assigned the duties that they are supposed to perform. The drugs are free, so people are given drugs depending on what the mood that you need them to be in. If there's a lot of work that needs to be done, maybe you give them a lot of drugs at the end of the week or throughout the week in order to motivate them. If they need to be doing like very, very specific tasks and they need to have pay a lot of attention, and maybe you might reduce their drug rations. People are allowed to, not even allowed, encouraged to have as much sex as they want, and they're not supposed to have kids. So everybody, like most women, are either on birth control or they are sterilized. I don't think they're sterilized, they're just on birth control that they're supposed to be on. And nobody's supposed to think freely. You're just supposed to do what you're supposed to do. And the story is really of this one guy who, for whatever reason, isn't like everybody else. And I guess you don't decide to fall in love with someone. Well, he fell in love with a particular person. I guess she wasn't a clone, because then it might not have been as much of a problem. Anyway, she has sex with him. I think they do. And he can't get enough of her, which is not supposed to be the case. You're supposed to move on from other people. And I guess he gets depressed. And yeah, there's that. And then in the other part, these people, I think, a young woman, went out to maybe on a tour with the savages, the people who live just the way that people live, but they don't have any technology or whatever. And she gets stranded out there. Maybe they thought she actually died. And she ends up living with these people who live as we would see people in less developed countries would live. And she ends up having a kid who is, half of her and half of the father, which is normal, but he's not really accepted in that community because I guess he's heard the stories that his mother told him about where she came from, and eventually they get rescued, and the first guy who's fallen in love and starting to think on his own, and the savage, the half and half guy, and his mother, who is now, because she's been away, she is really overweight, I think, and she's not really reaccepted back into society. The half and half guy is not accepted back into his new society. He doesn't accept his society either. And yeah, it's just a story about these misfits who eventually meet the guy who runs everything. And he has been allowed, the guy who runs everything, to understand everything about the society, and he can read any books that he wants to read. And basically these people who are the aberrations, I think they're normally people just get rid of them. But he is benevolent enough to offer the first guy, it's like, hey, just don't cause any trouble. But yeah. And I think maybe the mother just, maybe she dies on drugs, I don't know. And then the guy who is her son, I think he might end up having killed himself, because the whole idea is that what a horror it is that this is the stage that humanity has reached, where you are completely and utterly controlled and bred just like cattle, made to order, standardized in this world. And I don't know what my position was in the past, but my position currently is you get to take as much drugs as you want, you get to have as much sex as you want, you have stuff that you're supposed to do, and I guess you can't read everything that you want, especially stuff about society and stuff about, alternative thinking about the way that society should be structured and relationships and da da da. But maybe you get to read as much science as you want, which is cool. I like that. But I'm thinking of the prospects and the future that we have right now. And I've been looking at, the demographic structures of different countries. And, there's always this, I don't know that you'd call it a population bomb, but the population of the planet and the population of many countries is going to be going down. I mean, there's going to be too many older people in most of these developed countries, and that's the case in Japan. And I'm thinking, there's a lot of bad things that come out of that. There are going to be, who is going to pay for all of these older people to the care that they're going to need when they're older? That's happening right now. There are people in Japan and maybe Korea who commit crimes to go into jail. And it's because we have not done a lot of the things that we are supposed to do to help people. And by supposed to do, there are people who would say that nobody owes you anything. It's not about owing anybody anything. It's about, in a bid to make sure that you don't pay more money than you want to pay, you are going to let society become unstable. You are going to let society just bump up and down on this windy, pothole-filled world because you don't want to pay the pittance that it costs to get, stuff to patch the potholes. to me, that really seems kind of ridiculous, because there are people out there who are like, no, 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 I don't want to pay any taxes. So if you pay so little taxes that the entire structure of society, the whole structure that gives your money any value, is at risk of collapsing, how does that make any sense? You could lose everything because you don't want to pay anything. How does that make any sense at all? So, but anyway, it is not. But anyway, that's the whole point of this story. And there are many aspects of this Brave New World story that strike me as not really horrible things that to give up in order to get other things. A lot of people might say that, hey, I want to have my own kids. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. That's really an idea that we all have about many things, because we look around in the world and we see other people with kids and we're like, that looks cool. I want to have that too. Because many people look around and they see other people that they know might have exotic animals. They might have lions, they might have tigers, they might have, I don't know, too many people have bears. But yeah, and they go out and they get some of those things, and they get, a parrot, and they get whatever it might be. So that's what happens. We see other people walking when we're children and we're like, yeah, I want to try that. So we can also try, perhaps, trying to figure out how to get babies to come to term outside of their mother. Because there are lots of people who might not even want to have to bother to go through surrogacy. Maybe there are a lot of benefits to not doing that. Maybe there are, with respect to declining populations, maybe you don't want to have to beg people to have kids. Maybe there's a way to have as many kids as you want when you need kids. Of course, probably it's not a good idea to deprive them of oxygen to make sure that you can control their IQ. On that side of it, doesn't seem like the best thing, the nicest thing. On the flip side, the war against drugs was never really a war against drugs, was it? It was really a war against minorities, kind of, because that was who smoked, or at least was allegedly smoked marijuana. But there's no real war against pure cocaine per se. Lots of celebrities and probably even politicians use cocaine, and I don't know, somehow they can find the cocaine that they need, and they've never really had a problem with it. So there's that. And of course, there's been a lot of lies told about drug use anyway. So the whole idea of having one supreme leader does not really sound that great. On the flip side, though, it means that many policies can be put in place that can go further than 4 years or 5 years or 6 years. You can have policies that are about the long term. And you can also, at least when it comes to the society's biases, you can change them. You can change people's points of view to a point of view that is more beneficial to society. There's a lot of things out there. So I don't know. But especially when it comes to climate change, it seems that our freedom, the freedom of corporations to manipulate people, which is what they're currently doing, it doesn't seem like it's ending well. It does not seem like that at all. So, yeah, that's it for me. But A Brave New World doesn't seem to be the horror story that it was intended to be when we look at what's actually facing us right now, the future. So that's it for me. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, dislike, any of those things. It's the same way that you would like me to do that, give you that feedback if this were your stuff. Have a good one. Peace.